What if I told you the secret to some truly massive success wasn't some huge, crazy leap, but just a tiny 1% step taken every single day? Yeah, sounds simple, right? Well, let's get into it because today we're going to unpack a powerful philosophy that does exactly that. And this quote just nails it. This is the heart of Kaizen. It's not about some big, flashy overnight revolution. Nope, it's about evolution. It's the magic of compounding, where these tiny, consistent improvements just stack on top of each other until, bam, you've built something truly massive and sustainable. And the name itself, well, it tells you everything you need to know. It's made up of two Japanese words, Kai, which means change, and Zen, which means good. Put them together, and Kaizen literally means change for the good, or continuous improvement. It's such a simple, elegant idea, and we're going to break it all down. Okay, so what is Kaizen really? I think the most important thing to get is that it's not just a methodology or some project you check off a list. No way. It's a culture. It's a mindset that's got to run through the entire organization, from the CEO all the way to the person on the front line, all part of this constant journey of just getting better. Now, to really get how Kaizen works, you first have to know who the enemy is. What is it fighting against? Turns out it's laser focused on three main enemies of efficiency, the big reasons why things go round and productivity just grinds to a halt. They're called the three Mus. First up, you've got Muda, which is just waste. Plain and simple. Any activity that burns through resources but adds absolutely zero value for the customer. Then there's Mura, or unevenness. You know that feeling of stop-and-go workflow? That's Mura. It creates all these frustrating bottlenecks. And last, we have Muri, which is overburden. This is when you push people or equipment way past their limits. And we all know where that leads, burnout and breakdowns. All right, let's zoom in a bit on Muda because it's kind of the most famous of the three. It breaks down into all these different kinds of waste. You've got the obvious ones, right? Like making too much stuff or just waiting around. But the one I find really fascinating is this more modern edition, underutilized talent. And that is a huge one. It's been called the most critical loss of intellectual capital. I mean, think about it. Ignoring the creativity and ideas of your team, that is the biggest waste of all. So how do we actually fight these guys? Well, Kaizen isn't just a nice idea. It comes with a seriously powerful and practical toolkit. Let's dig into the tools that make all this continuous improvement stuff actually happen. Okay, the bedrock of this whole toolkit is the 5S system. It's just a super logical way to get a workspace organized. First is Siri, or sort. You just get rid of all the junk you don't need. Easy. Then comes Seitan, set in order. Everything gets a home, a designated spot. Next, Seiso, or shine. Keep the place clean, which, by the way, makes it way easier to spot problems. After that, Seiketsu, standardize. You make those first three steps the new rulebook. And finally, the most important one, Shitsuke, or sustain. This is where you turn it from a project into a habit, into the culture itself. And this is where you really see the power we were talking about. I mean, saving 30 seconds looking for a tool, who cares, right? Wrong. Look at this. If 500 people save just 30 seconds 100 times a day, you've just saved over 800 hours in a year. That's insane. That is the magic of Kaizen. Tiny, tiny changes adding up to massive results. And it didn't cost a thing.
So what's the engine that keeps this whole thing moving? It's called the PDCA cycle. It's a simple scientific loop. First, you plan a change. Then you do it, but on a small scale, like a test. Next, you check the results. Did it actually work? And finally, you act. If it was a success, great. You make it the new standard. If not, no big deal. You just loop back to the plan stage with what you learned. It's this never-ending cycle of getting smarter.
All right, so we've got the philosophy, we've got the tools, but how does this all actually work in the real world? It often comes together in something called a Kaizen event. Yeah, a Kaizen event is basically a short, intense sprint to solve a problem. It's not some vague, long-term thing. It's got three clear phases. Phase 1, planning. You pick a very specific problem, grab a team, and set a super tight deadline. Phase 2, implementation. You figure out what's going on now, find the real cause of the problem, and, this is the best part, you implement the fix right away. No waiting around. And Phase 3, follow-up. You track the numbers to make sure your great idea is actually working and sticking around. It's all about being fast, focused, and driven by the data. You know, a huge part of that implementation phase is making sure you're solving the real problem, not just putting a Band-Aid on a symptom. And for that, there's this brilliantly simple tool called the 5 Whys technique. Let me show you how it works with a classic example. Okay, so we start at the surface. Why number one? Why the machine stop? The answer? A fuse blew. Now, the lazy fix is to just slap a new fuse in there and call it a day, right? But Kaizen says, nope, we gotta dig deeper. So we ask, why number two? Why was there an overload in the first place? Answer, the bearings didn't have enough lubrication. Okay, interesting. Now we're getting somewhere. But hold on, we're not done. So, why number three? Why was the lubrication insufficient? Because the pump that supplies it wasn't working right. Ah, so the problem isn't the oil, it's the pump. And that leads us to why number four. Why did the pump fail? Because the shaft was all worn out and vibrating. We are so close, just one more why to go. And finally, the big one, why number five? Why did the shaft wear out? Root cause, there was no filter to keep junk from getting into the system. Boom, there it is. By asking why 5 times, we didn't just fix the fuse, we found the real problem and created a permanent solution. So you can see how this stuff started out on the factory floor, right? But the really cool thing about Kaizen is that you can apply it to, well, pretty much anything. So let's talk about how you can use this stuff in your own world, way beyond manufacturing. Now, you've probably heard of Six Sigma, and people sometimes get them mixed up. Here's the key difference. Six Sigma is this very heavy, statistical, expert-driven thing. Think black belts and complex math to stamp out defects. Kaizen, it's all about culture. It's way simpler, it's for everybody, and it's about empowering every single person on the team to find small ways to make things better every single day. So how can you use this in your own life, like right now? Check out the 1-minute rule. It's brilliant. Let's say you want to start a new habit, but it just feels like too much work. Here's what you do. Just commit to doing it for only 60 seconds every day. That's it. It's a little brain hack because your mind doesn't see it as a big, scary change, so it doesn't fight back. It's the perfect way to beat procrastination. That's personal Kaizen right there. And don't think for a second that Kaizen is some old school idea. We're in the age of AI now, right? And AI is like a supercharger for these principles. It can give us real-time data to track everything, create total transparency so everyone knows what's going on, and even, get this, predict where waste is going to happen before it even starts. AI doesn't replace the Kaizen culture. It puts it on steroids. So, there you have it. We've walked through the philosophy, the tools, and the absolutely incredible power of Kaizen. From the factory floor all the way to your own daily habits, the principle is exactly the same. Small, consistent steps lead to amazing results. And that really brings us to the final question. The only one that matters, really. What could you improve by just 1% today?